Alright guys, so we're gonna find some alright, so a month ago I made this video. Actually, I think it's 2 months ago. No, it was a month ago. A month ago I made this video called Mom raises 300K for saying the N-word. And I basically talked about this mom that called a black kid the N-word with a hard R. And my take on it was like, it's pretty pathetic that you people are giving this mom like $300,000 for just simply saying the N-word. And for just saying the N-word, like, that's just blatantly racist towards like a black kid, which is pretty pathetic in my opinion. And I kind of got a bit of backlash because some of the comments were telling me to I guess cover the black kid that stabbed a white boy in the heart and got huge donations too. She didn't commit a crime. This is all about pointing out the hypocrisy, which just because one bad thing is happening doesn't mean like two wrongs don't make a right. I don't understand why donating to her would suddenly point out hypocrisy. That's pretty stupid in my opinion if you really think about it. But yeah. So I made this video about this mom that raised 300K for, like, my take on this was, even if the black boy was being an asshole or being obnoxious or just all around a jerk, you should just teach him, like, say, hey, you don't steal from people, or hey, you don't do this. No, you don't blatantly call him the N-word. That's crazy, and that's unironically racist if you think about it. So I decided to, look up a video and decided to, I guess, educate myself on this case. This is the case that this commenter was telling me about, the black kid that stabbed the white boy. This is about the Karmelo Anthony case, not the basketball player Karmelo Anthony. A kid named Karmelo Anthony who stabbed the white boy in the chest and bled to death while and died in his brother's hand, which is pretty sad. It's sad, and honestly, if I'm looking at this based on what I know and based on what I'm seeing, I don't know. So I don't know much about this case. The thing I know is that some black kid stabbed a white boy in the chest, and then people made this a race issue. So today we're gonna watch it and see what's going on, bros.
There's no self-defense, because if you are afraid the day before, where you have to take a weapon to school, why not notify your parents? You getting ready to run track with other kids and you got a knife on you. No, man, you got to go to jail.
Talking about he had a knife.
For you. No, man, you got to go to jail.
Wait, he got arrested?
Well, you have to, there's no self-defense, because if you are afraid the day before, where you have to take a weapon to school, why not notify your parents? You getting ready to run track with other kids and you got a knife on you. No, man, you got to go to jail.
Damn.
Talking about he had a knife. You damn right. If you a black man living in America, you better be walking around with talking about he had a knife. You got white boys riding around with guns and y'all.
I mean, to be fair, it was a track meet, right? The fucking shit. He stabbed him at a track meet. The only source I got for I may be acting like I don't know about this case, but I kind of know a little bit more. The only source of this case I know is through a Sadagascar video from YouTube, and it was a track meet, and he brought a knife to school, which I don't think knives are allowed in school or at a track meet in general. I think that's a crime to even do that.
Are crying about a knife.
The hard part that cost me is I lost my son, and his brother was holding him, trying to hold the blood in, and he passed. My son watched his brother die in his arms.
That's horrible.
I need a break.
Jeff, first of all, my entire heart rests in your hands. I would be in my position, not even as somebody even knew your son, but somebody that shares the same understanding. I grew up as a 17-year-old young white man too, and I grew up in fear of my life around black people because they were killing and robbing people.
What the fuck? Whoa. What the fuck?
Too, and I grew up in fear of my life around black people because they were killing and
You're scared of black people because they kill and steal?
and robbing people around me all the time. And I don't understand, as I was a father, you could sit idly by and not condemn the culture that killed your son.
No way you're saying this to a father, by the way. No way you're saying this to the father of a fucking murder victim. Dude, you're fucking pathetic.
Are you done?
Yes, I am, sir.
Okay, my turn to speak. You are part of the problem, my friend.
Damn, own him.
Confrontation between two teens left one dead and the country divided. In this video, we're going to be breaking down the criminal case of Karmelo Anthony. April 2nd, 2025, it was 10 a.m. when the Staley Middle School resource officer heard over the radio there was a stabbing at the school track field. Frisco police would alert nearby officers an athlete was the victim, and the suspect was a black male wearing a gray hoodie and blue sweatpants. The school officer rushed to the stadium where two teens told him the victim was under the Memorial High School tent. Approaching the tent, an adult would point out the suspect, who remained on the track separated from the officer by a chain link fence. The officer commanded the suspect to keep his hands in the air, and the suspect complied, saying, "I was protecting myself." As the officer placed the suspect in handcuffs, the suspect said, "He put his hands on me." The officer sat the suspect on the ground while advising backup over the radio. He had the alleged suspect. The suspect then stated, "I'm not alleged, I did it."
Jesus.
By this point, the suspect had the right to remain silent. He just didn't have the ability. While walking him to the police vehicle, the suspect became emotional, crying hysterically as he said, "He put his hands on me. I told him not to." While in the back seat, he then asked officers if the victim was going to be okay. The suspect would identify himself as 17-year-old Karmelo Anthony, a student from Frisco Centennial High. While this was going on, athletic trainers along with the Frisco Fire Department were attempting to save the victim. The weather turned to a heavy downpour of rain, causing the fire department to place a tent over the victim. A police officer began using his phone to photograph the crime scene, as others began taping off the area and moving non-essential people out of the stadium. Officers were informed the weapon used had been tossed, with a witness stating it was in the bleachers. Officers discovered the folding knife, partially open and still bloody, deciding to cover it with a tarp. An officer grabbed a backpack to weigh the tarp down, noticing it was the only backpack from Centennial High, as all the others were from Memorial. It was later discovered this was the suspect's backpack. The victim, identified as 17-year-old Austin Metcalf, was a Memorial High student. Investigators would learn the stadium was hosting a track and field championship with multiple schools in attendance.
Wow,
The
dude.
stabbing took place under the Memorial High School pop-up tent in the visitors' bleachers. A witness would tell police he was sitting under the tent with his team and was near his teammate Austin as everything played out. Austin told the suspect, Karmelo, that he needed to move out from under their team's tent. Not only did Karmelo go to a different school, he was under their tent wearing Centennial High clothing. Karmelo grabbed his backpack,
Why was he there, though?
opened it, and reached inside telling Austin, "Touch me and see what happens." The witness told officers no one really thought Karmelo had any weapons, so Austin proceeded to touch Karmelo.
Damn.
Karmelo then told Austin to punch him and see what happens. A short time later, Austin grabbed Karmelo to tell him to move, and Karmelo pulled out what the witness described as a black knife, stabbing Austin once in the chest before running away. Austin began grabbing his chest, telling everyone to get help, and shortly after, he'd lose consciousness, stop breathing, and never wake up again.
Damn, bro. Rest in peace.
2 more witnesses were found breathing heavily and crying, one of which was identified as the victim's younger brother. He was unable to say much, but his friends said they were sitting on the bleachers under the Memorial High School 10. A male wearing a different school's clothes came and sat down, so Austin told him since he didn't go to Memorial, he had to leave the 10. While arguing, Austin was stabbed and the suspect ran. Austin's younger brother held on to his older brother as he lost consciousness, bleeding out in his brother's arms. It was 10:46 a.m. when Austin was brought into the trauma bay at the hospital. 7 minutes later, he was pronounced dead. His heart had been pierced and he bled to death. Officers listed student witnesses from Lebanon High, Liberty High, Memorial High, Frisco High, Independence High, and Emerson High. Centennial High's head coach told officers he heard his athlete confess to the stabbing, while 2 coaches from Independence High School witnessed the stabbing. Karmelo Anthony would be charged with first-degree murder and transported to the Collin County Jail. Under Texas law, even at 17 years old, Karmelo could and would be charged as an adult. His bond would be set at $1 million. Immediately following his arrest, social media would divide black versus
Standing behind a young Karmelo Anthony, Justice Warriors tap in. Austin Metcalf, Karmelo Anthony. The story I got was they tried to jump him and broke his phone, and he stabbed the twins. So sound like self-defense. Public opinion constant. YouTube Live. Former Dallas County is innocent and the real victim. Austin Metcalf was the aggressor and Karmelo Anthony attacked.
white. Some of the black community would come to the immediate defense of Karmelo, stating it was purely self-defense and he's only been arrested because of the fact that his victim is white. They'd also claim the victim in this case was the aggressor. While GoFundMe doesn't allow funding lawyers for criminal cases, apparently GiveSendGo does, and over $500,000 has been raised for Karmelo, with a list of donation comments raising concern amongst journalists. One anonymous donation would label Karmelo an anti-bullying hero, a scholar, and a gentleman. A donator named Black Excellence would donate again, stating, "The more..."
Wait, what?
A donator named Black Excellence would donate again, stating, "The more these hateful whites show their insecurities and fragilities of losing dominance. Sending love, light, and justice to King Karmelo."
Jesus.
Rock from Atlanta would comment, "We are the defenders of our lineage. This is America, and these flat whiteness immigrants from all over the world has always been open enemies towards foundational black Americans from day one. No more."
That sounds passive aggressive.
Some in the white community would also speak out, stating this wasn't self-defense, it was flat-out murder.
What I'm hearing, I feel like it is flat out murder, even if it's... I don't think self-defense would work in this case, because I don't think the guy had... Or, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe that this white guy, or what's his name, fucking Austin, didn't have a weapon, and Karmelo did, and he stabbed him with a weapon, which he used. I feel like if he was the aggressor, he probably used his hands to fight, and they were both kind of like, they probably should both could have like used hands to fight, but this guy pulled out a knife and like fucking killed the guy. I believe he could have. I feel like self-defense would have been a case if like Austin threatened him with a fucking knife, and then like he like swung at him with a knife, and then that would probably give him just self-defense. I'm not sure if self-defense would probably work in this case though.
Many would be enraged at the fact that Austin's killer was being praised for being black and killing a white. The donations spoke for themselves, literally, and many have also stated if the races were reversed and the victim was black, there would be riots and looting. Karmelo's actions and Austin's death was now being politicized and used by radicals on both sides to justify prejudice. In simpler terms, it didn't matter who was right or wrong because the ones speaking out don't care about Karmelo or Austin, they care about their own agenda. Things would heat up again on April 14, 2025, when Judge Angela Tucker reduced Karmelo's bond from $1 million.
Oh my gosh, I think I remember part of this case. Didn't like people harass this poor judge?
Down to $250,000. She also agreed to release him based on his clean criminal record and his athletic/academic background. Karmelo would then be released under the conditions he wear an ankle monitor and be supervised by a parent at all times. Judge Tucker's decision would cause her to receive violent and racist threats on social media, leaving her with no choice but to privatize her Twitter. Judge Tucker's personal security has also been temporarily increased as the FBI investigate anyone who released private or personal information about her, as they plan to charge those responsible with unlawful disclosure of a resident's address or telephone number and obstruction or retaliation.
Which, I mean, yeah, that's good. If you're fucking doxing innocent people over here, I believe you deserve, like, the full book.
Karmelo and his family would also be targeted through death threats and harassment. People would visit his home, loitering and taking
What the fuck is this? In loving memory of Austin Metcalf?
pictures, while others would make false food delivery orders and send hate mail including Austin's obituary. It became common for people to circle the home in their vehicles to essentially provoke fear and intimidation. Karmelo's family would have no choice but to use donation funds to relocate to an undisclosed location. But this harassment wasn't one-sided. Frisco police would receive a phone call reporting a shooting at Austin Metcalf's father's home. Another shooting would be reported at his mother's home. This would happen a total of 3 times, all 3 being fake reports known as swatting, in which an anonymous
That's a fucking crime, dude. I don't know why you people are swatting this poor guy.
person contacts police and they
Like, their
respond
son just died and you're over here, like, setting up a SWAT team over them?
to what they believe to be a violent situation. Swatting has even led to innocent people being killed by police. Austin's father, Jeff, has been making headlines himself as he attempted to make peace with his son's killer's family and pray together at a press conference held for Karmelo. Instead, he was escorted out by police, with Karmelo's family apparently
Why?
uninterested in making amends.
But why, though? Like, I feel like as the victim of, like the father of a murder victim, I feel like he should be there and, like, listen. Like, I don't think he was there to cause issues.
What we seen at the beginning of this press conference, the father being at this press conference, these are my words, don't quote anybody, is a disrespect to the dignity of his son. That was disrespectful and just shows you all the character. He was not invited. He knows that it's inappropriate to be near this family.
Why?
The main voice speaking for the Anthony family was not actually a member, but the so-called minister, Dominique Alexander.
Oh, it's what? Oh, I thought that was his father or some shit.
Describing himself as a minister of justice, political, civil, and human rights activist, and supporter of Black Lives Matter.
That's nice.
His suit, tie, and slow way of speaking aligns with more of a gimmick from a man with an agenda. Come to find out, Dominique has a long criminal history
Whoa, what the all of these are him?
himself and served prison time for abusing a baby.
What? And this is like your... Huh? Hold on. Having a guy who physically abused a baby speaks for you. Speak for you is wild. That's literally what I was about to say. Why are you letting a baby abuser speak for you?
Back in July of 2009, he was babysitting his girlfriend's 2-year-old son when he called her telling her to get home now. He didn't tell her why, and when she arrived, the child was unresponsive.
What? Nah, this guy needs to be in jail longer.
He'd claimed he walked into another room and heard the baby boy fall off the couch as he was watching a movie. When he walked back in, the boy's eyes looked funny, later telling a detective they rolled to the back of his head. The 2-year-old boy was placed in the intensive care unit and discovered to have a subdural hemorrhage at the back of his head, meaning blood around his brain.
Oh my god.
He also had retinal hemorrhaging, meaning bleeding in both of his eyes.
Dude.
The severity of the boy's injuries were ruled inconsistent with falling off a couch and more consistent with abusive head trauma and physical abuse. Dominique would later plead guilty in this case. Dominique would address his multiple arrests from...
Dude, that is fucking pathetic. Why are you even part of this? Why are you even in this case? You should stay away from this case.
theft, forgery, stealing a car, making a false police report. The list goes on. He'd say social media would try to shame him, but ended up showing his testimony. That when he first stepped into activism in 2014, he didn't hide who he was, and he was even named Person of the Year for the Dallas Observer's People Edition in 2015. But in 2019, Dominique would be arrested for striking and pushing his girlfriend.
Okay.
Dominique Alexander, the founder of the Next Generation Action Network, was indicted today on a charge of continuous violence against the family. That's a third-degree felony. He was arrested back in April after his girlfriend, Kiera Saunders, told police Alexander assaulted her. However, in an affidavit filed before today's indictment, Saunders says she doesn't want any part of the prosecution.
Regardless, this was the face of Karmelo Anthony's family.
Why? Why would you want this guy to be the face of your family? This guy abuses babies.
Man whose sole purpose is speaking against so-called racist police who target black men. He was now taking this opportunity to make Karmelo the victim who had to defend himself against his white attacker. So let's look at the facts. Karmelo was an athlete from Centennial High. During a track and field competition, he chose to sit under an opposing school's tent. Austin was an athlete from Memorial High and confronted Karmelo about being under his team's tent. Austin would grab Karmelo's backpack, telling him to leave, and eventually push Karmelo, while Karmelo would grab his backpack, reaching inside, telling Austin, "Touch me and see what happens." Austin would continue, which led to Karmelo pulling out the knife and stabbing him. Now, my boy JD DeLay would break down Texas self-defense laws perfectly.
Constitutes lawful self-defense. It's all going to depend on what state you're in because each state has different laws.
All right, well, let's see this. Hold on, give me a second here, bro. Goddamn, bro.
But for the sake of relevant current events, let's talk about the state of Texas. The state of Texas has the best self-defense laws out of any state in the country. They have stand your ground laws, which means that you do not have to retreat. You're allowed to defend yourself if somebody threatens or physically harms you. But you're only allowed to use proportional violence. So if somebody's coming at you with hands and you shoot them, you could be in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, that's what I was asking earlier. Like, even if... Like, I don't think self-defense would work on this guy, because I don't think Austin had a weapon to fucking kill him in that meet, so I don't think a knife wasn't justified.
All depends on the valid and articulable threat that was there at the time.
Plus, who brings a fucking knife to a track meet? I feel like that should be, like, you should, like, get arrested for just that.
If somebody's coming after you with a gun or a knife, then you are definitely in your realm to be able to use lethal force. However, this does require that you did not instigate the incident and that you are not somewhere that you are not supposed to be. You instigated the incident. If you are somewhere you don't belong, or if you use excessive force, self-defense is out the window. Like I said, this is specifically applicable to the state of Texas and their laws, so know the law where you live. Might just save your life or keep your ass out of prison.
In this situation, Not only was Karmelo somewhere he wasn't supposed to be, as he didn't go to Memorial High and should have been with his own team, he was armed with a weapon he wasn't supposed to have. His mere presence during a competition could be seen as provoking an opposing school. After being confronted, Karmelo would reach in his bag saying, "Touch me and see what happens." The fact that Karmelo ran track, if he was in fear for his life, he literally just could have ran. But in a stand your ground case,
Literally.
he doesn't legally have to. But Austin wasn't threatening to kill, use a weapon, or even beat him. He was telling him to leave. So Karmelo using deadly force as self-defense seems very unjustified. But also telling someone, "Touch me and see what happens," can qualify as instigating the incident. If a gang member walks to a rival gang's territory with an illegal weapon, daring a rival gang member to touch him so he can legally kill him, that doesn't qualify as self-defense. So if an opposing athlete sits in an opposing team's area with a concealed weapon and stabs someone when confronted, I don't see how he can claim self-defense. Karmelo would show emotion, hysterically crying after the incident, even asking if Austin was okay. This shows compassion. And while a former FBI agent claims from her experience Karmelo was using an insane Vice Lord's gang sign while holding an AK-47,
damn.
The full picture would show Karmelo at a friend's house.
Yeah, it would be him and a bunch of white guys
Holding a BB gun in which the orange tip has been removed. No more extreme than Austin and his brother holding real guns. Karmelo wasn't a thug. He came from a nice job with 2 parents in an affluent area.
Yeah, I don't get I don't understand like the whole thug narrative. I think that was just to like draw up like the race issue thing. But the thug narrative's kind of stupid.
But a kid's Foot Locker, was captain of the football team and track team. Should he have had a knife? No. But how many teen boys have carried pocket knives? Just because he's black doesn't mean he was looking to stab someone that day. I think teenage pride and ego led to an irreversible decision. I think regret and compassion should weigh on the scale of justice. I don't think Karmelo is innocent of murder, but I also don't think he placed himself there with the intent to kill. Looking at their athletic stats, Austin was 6 foot tall and 220 pounds, while Karmelo was 5'10", 175 pounds.
Damn, bro could have easily kicked his ass.
Karmelo resorted to a weapon out of fear, but I don't believe he feared for his life. I believe he feared he'd get beat up. Unfortunately, I don't think this fear meets the legal qualification to kill someone in self-defense. I also feel his self-defense won't stand because he provoked Austin by saying, "Touch me and see what happens." When Austin touched him, he then said, "Hit me and see what happens." It would be different if he displayed the knife and told him he's prepared to defend himself. In the end, a teenage athlete died while another faces prison, and countless people with nothing
Both of their lives are basically over.
better to do are using this to fuel political agendas.
Which is a pathetic thing. Why are you people using this fucking a murder case to fuel fucking ideology?
This case is tragic, controversial. There's a lot of elements to this case, right? And it's going to be difficult for them to find jurors that haven't been swayed by the media in this situation. The biggest topic with this is going to be race and racism. You have Dominique Alexander, the spokesperson for the family, who used the roughly 40 minutes of the press conference to basically race bait and play the victim role as a black man in America, while not confronting his, 20 to 30 arrests and the fact
That's crazy.
that his only victims from physical crimes seem to be a baby boy
and a woman.
And a woman, right? That's what he's been arrested for. He was convicted for abusing the baby, and both of them in that situation were black. But he chooses to now classify himself as an activist and only goes after situations involving white people, which we also see with Black Lives Matter. They only speak out when a white person is involved. This situation is being blown out of proportion by radicals on both sides. And Austin's father, who tried to make amends with the family and was met with dismissal, he has even expressed to white radicals that are trying to push this.
Yeah, even the dad was like telling the white people that are like fucking, you know, using this as, oh, whites are the victim or some shit like that, as a way to just like say, hey, stop using my fucking dead son to fucking push a fucking agenda.
White agenda. Look, I don't believe in y'all's bullshit. This isn't a race thing. This is two teenagers and something unfortunate that happened. But I'm not siding with racists. I'm not siding with bullshit. I'm just trying to get over the fact that my son was killed. And he was killed by another boy who was scared. You know what I mean? And that's essentially what I think happened. I think that Karmelo was scared, but I don't think that fear is enough to
it doesn't justify murder.
Justify stabbing somebody in the eye. In my opinion, how I think this case will play out, how it should play out, and how it will play out are two different things. I think based on all of the evidence, him admitting to it, the fact that he showed compassion, the fact that, you know, he's a flawless student, he's an athlete, maybe that this, you know, at best would get brought down to a manslaughter type of offense. I don't know the legalities in Texas, how that would work if they have a manslaughter charge. This was a heat of the moment type of thing. I don't think he had the intent to kill. I also don't necessarily see him flat out beating this.
Yeah.
Because of the political agendas being pushed into this case and the fact that, you know, Karmelo now has over $500,000 to play with as far as his legal defense, you might see him walk with some crazy amount of probation or something along those lines. Due to the fact that he has no criminal history, he has a lot of money to afford a defense, and this case is being politicized. And we've seen, you know, it's become a norm in certain inner cities that it's racist to put high bonds on minorities, even if people are running around shooting people. So we've seen people get caught with guns, shoot people, etc., bond out, and then kill somebody, and then the city is like, well, why the fuck did he get let out? Well, it's like, well, because it's racist if we don't let him out.
Yeah, it's pretty weird.
I'm pretty sure we can also all agree that if the case was reversed and this was a white teen that killed a black teen, there'd be a whole lot more shit going on. And that'd
be worse.
You know, that's the problem right now that everyone's having, is that now they're saying that there is black privilege in which $500,000 has been raised and people are openly praising Karmelo's actions for killing a bully, versus if the roles were reversed, it would play out entirely different. I don't think Karmelo's a thug. I don't think he should be punished as if he is. And I don't think he should be portrayed as one either. I've had pocket knives since I was like 10 years old, bro. I brought him to school. Cool, you show him to your friends. Whatever. Like, that's normal shit. That's not some crazy out of bounds thing. He took a picture with a BB gun. They tried to frame it to make it look like he had an AK. He's throwing up gang signs. Bro, I done seen NBA players throw shit up. Everybody's just trying to look fucking cool, right? That doesn't mean he's a fucking insane vice lord. And then it's no different when you look at the two brothers with real guns and camo gear because they're country boys and one of them's throwing a middle finger. It's the same thing, bro. People are just trying to portray this to fit their narrative, and that's the fucking issue with America. At the end of the day, the kid shouldn't have stabbed him, but he fucking showed compassion. He broke down hysterically crying. He asked if he was gonna be okay.
They see compassion for the guy.
He made a bad fucking mistake, and he's gonna have to answer to that. But hey, it's 1090 Jake. Drop y'all's thoughts in the comment section. I'm rocking with y'all, and y'all rocking with me. Until next time.
Alright, so that was the case in a nutshell. Or actually in a very long show. Me personally, I feel like... I'm not sure. I feel like this guy might do some time in jail. Maybe. I'm not sure though.